Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. If you are an XRP holder, let me tell you at the outset of this latest Moon Lambo hot jam that this is pure vindication of our disdain, disgust, and everything we've complained about at the disgusting agency that is the SEC and Kim Jong-Ginsler, who of course is the supreme leader and dictator over that disgusting agency. And I'll also tell you this at the outset. Kim Jong-Ginsler hasn't had a day this bad since XRP was declared by Judge Torres last July to not be a security. Oh, you buckle up, you gotta love this one because the SEC's getting sued again. Yes, they're getting sued again, this time by Coinbase. And today, there were, unless I missed one, there were at least two, and I'll run through this, there were two rulings from the Supreme Court that ruled against the position of the SEC. Just it's all-around devastating day if you're Kim Jong-Ginsler. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, as you well know, the SEC is already going after Coinbase, so a lawsuit in the works there, which is why I thought I'd start with this before getting into the brand new lawsuit, because it's funny what I'm sharing with you to kick this off, but it's also repulsive. So check this out. There's this post that went viral within the world of crypto, at least. It was posted yesterday. 789,000 views by somebody named Kyle Chase? I'm not sure how to say the last name. I'm not familiar with him. Not that that matters. But he seems to be popular in crypto. Been in Bitcoin since 2012. 210,000 followers. And he wrote the following. U.S. government just sent 4,000 Bitcoin to Coinbase. Now that's kind of curious. And attorney John Deaton highlighted exactly why. He reposted that on X and wrote the following. This is attorney Deaton here. This is the nonsense people are sick and tired of coming from our government. Gary Gensler, working at the direction of Senator Elizabeth Warren, joined the anti-crypto army she promised to build when she announced her re-election. Gensler, as chairman of the SEC, has declared Coinbase's business illegal. Yet the U.S. government is using that illegal business to sell Bitcoin to the American public. You can't make this stuff up. Just let that sink in for a second. We're the government. We are suing you because you are an illegal entity. But can we use your services, please? Are you kidding me? Eric Voorhees put it rather succinctly as well. He, of course, is the founder of cryptocurrency exchange Shapeshift. And he wrote, U.S. government declared Coinbase an illegal brokerage and then proceeded to use Coinbase as its brokerage. You can't make this stuff up. This is just as stupid as the SEC actually running their own XRP ledger validator while indicating that all of it was illegal. The whole thing, it was part of securities for all, well, not fraud, but illegal securities transactions. The SEC actually, and they outsourced it to a third party, but it's effectively the same thing. It doesn't matter. The SEC paid to have that illegal activity take place while they were suing Ripple and attacking XRP holders, running an XRP ledger validator. Make it make sense. You can't. So here's the latest from Cointelegraph. Coinbase sues SEC, FDIC, and, over FOIA non-compliance. And I gotta tell you, I love, after everything we've been through as an XRP community the last few years, I just love to see other entities in the world of crypto bringing the heat, going on offense here. And yes, I know Coinbase should have been vocal in the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit much sooner, but they did ultimately file an amicus brief, at least, even though it was late and they weren't very public about it. But still, we have to rally together, even though there are a lot of entities that weren't there when we really could have used the support. It still is what it is. It's in our best interest to join alongside them, regardless. But anyway, it reads as follows. Coinbase has filed lawsuits against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC for short. According to a Fox Business report, the lawsuits, filed on June 27th, allege that the SEC and FDIC failed to comply with Freedom of Information Act requests, or FOIA, FOIA, submitted to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Coinbase's lawsuits accuse the federal agencies of attempting to exclude the crypto industry from the banking sector. Yeah, and so I'll pause note, this is par for the course. You may recall that nonprofit organization Empower Oversight has also had the same trouble getting stonewalled with these FOIA requests. It's the SEC intentionally not doing what they are legally required to do. That's what's happening here. It's a disgusting agency from top to bottom. Piece continues. The FOIA requests aimed at the SEC sought information on the federal agency's view of Ethereum, specifically the blockchain's shift to proof-of-stake consensus mechanism. Coinbase asked for records related to Ethereum 2.0 and previous investigations involving Zachary Coburn and Enigma MPC through its consultant firm, History Associates, Inc. According to the legal documents, History Associates stated, and this is a quote, "For nearly 2 years, a wide array of federal financial regulators, including the Securities and Exchange Commission, the FDIC, and the Federal Reserve Board, have used every regulatory tool at their disposal to try to cripple the digital asset industry. This FOIA lawsuit seeks to bring to light the FDIC's role in that unlawful scheme." End quote. Does this sound familiar, folks? Sound a little familiar? Is it the same thing that we have run into in the XRP community and the SEC v. Ripple case and everything having to do with Billy Boy Hemming giving his Ethereum free pass speech in June of 2018? Is it ringing a bell? Because it keeps happening again and again and again and again and again. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's typically the case, and here it most certainly is. Coinbase's complaints against the regulatory actions against the crypto industry are part of a broader effort to undermine it. The lawsuits describe the SEC's and FDIC's actions as a coordinated attempt to cut off digital asset firms from essential banking services. According to the legal documents, the SEC's refusal to release records from concluded investigations is seen by Coinbase as, quote, "a deliberate obstruction to understanding the legal framework behind the agency's enforcement actions," end quote. Spot on. Here you have Attorney James Murphy, aka Meta Lawman, on X writing the following. "Today, Coinbase sued the SEC and FDIC to get to the bottom of the government's Operation Chokepoint 2.0 attack on the crypto industry. This is supposed to be what we pay Congress to do. Let's put an end to the corruption. Send in the Marines. Send John Deaton to the Senate." Spot on to that, that's for damn sure. And then there's this. Here's a post from John Deaton's crypto law organization, and this is on to the next fun defeat, or bad news for Gary Gensler of the day. And man, this is a lot for one day. Like, you hate to be Gary Gensler. You hate to be it, that Mr. Burns lookalike. So he writes here, huge court defeat for Gary Gensler. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, found the SEC's use of in-house tribunals is unconstitutional. Here is the text of the opinion, and he shared a link there. It's SEC v. Jareski, and John Deaton wrote the following. "This is the correct ruling from the Supreme Court. As a lawyer representing mesothelioma and lung cancer victims across the Commonwealth for the last 2 decades against major corporations, the Seventh Amendment's right to a jury trial is a cornerstone of our civil justice system, and it helps keep in check an out-of-control federal agency like the SEC." Yes, so Seventh Amendment, that's kind of important a little bit here in the United States, and keeping those asshat pricks at the SEC in check, because it's an out-of-control agency. Obviously, that's correct. But of course, it won't surprise you to see CNN taking the opposite take. Here's the headline, though. "Supreme Court limits power of SEC to unilaterally enforce financial fraud allegations." So, and they in this article, I won't read much of it, but they're decrying that this ruling came down from the Supreme Court, because they want you, if the SEC comes after you, to have less power, and for them, basically, it's the age-old thing. They want bigger government with more control, and they want you to have less power in response. It's just age-old battle. Check this out. The Supreme Court, and this is from CNN, the Supreme Court on Thursday limited the power of the Securities and Exchange Commission to enforce security fraud violations, siding with a hedge fund manager and former conservative radio show host who said he was entitled to a jury trial rather than an in-house review by the agency. So, folks, let me just ask you, if the SEC's coming after you, would you prefer to just have something in-house done at the SEC, or perhaps a jury trial? Just if it were you, for any reason. What do you think might lead to more adequate justice? Just you answer that. It doesn't have to be rhetorical. You can reply in the comment section below. And then they write this: "The decision could have enormous consequences for the SEC and other agencies," I personally hope so, "requiring them to pursue violations in federal court. rather than with a more streamlined internal review that could make it harder to police fraud and protect investors while adding to federal court backlogs. That's right. In order to protect you, they need to make sure that you don't get a jury trial. That's some serious spin from CNN. So that's the second bad piece of news for Gary Gensler. Here's the third one, and Ripple CLO, that's Chief Legal Officer Stuart Alderati, had something to say about this. Here's a headline from Bitcoinist, of all places, even highlighting something from a Ripple exec. Ripple CLO slams SEC's illegal move directed by Gensler after court loss. In a scathing public statement today, Ripple Chief Legal Officer Stuart Alderati criticized SEC Chairman Gary Gensler following a recent court decision, which Alderati highlighted as indicative of regulatory overreach. As highlighted by Alderati, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission unlawfully rescinded a rule concerning proxy advisory firms, an action directed by Gensler that did not comply with the Administrative Procedure Act. Well, how about that? You tell me that old Gare Bear over there, he's gone outside the bounds of the law and what he's allowed to do based on the powers bestowed upon the SEC by Congress. You're telling me he went outside that? No, that couldn't be true. Not Gare Bear. You gotta be kidding me here. There's a part down here I wanted to share too, if I can find it real quickly. I think it was this part right here, actually. Yeah, the cited court ruling. A decision from the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals struck down the SEC's rollback of the 2020 rules, which were initially established during the Trump administration to ensure transparency and accountability in proxy voting advice. The court unanimously found the SEC's process for rescinding these rules as, quote, arbitrary and capricious and therefore unlawful, end quote. I'm not even going to finish the sentence yet. Arbitrary and capricious. We have heard that a lot recently coming from various courts directed at the SEC. How about that? So anyway, they found it arbitrary and capricious, particularly criticizing the agency for not adequately justifying its decision. No! This court decision focuses on rules that required proxy firms like Institutional Shareholder Services and Glass Lewis to notify companies about their voting advice simultaneously as their clients, and to provide a mechanism for companies to respond. These requirements were intended to enhance the transparency and fairness of proxy voting, a critical component in corporate governance. So the goal there was reduce the transparency. Do you see the theme over the last few years here with this SEC? My God, these are just despicable people. And so here was the actual post from Stuart Alderati on X. He wrote, another court slams the SEC, this time for unlawful rescinding a rule on proxy advisor firms without adhering to the Administrative Procedure Act. The court explains that Gensler personally directed this illegal move. And it's the National Association of Manufacturers versus SEC. You'll love to see it. It's a great day. It further shows, like, all of us and all the complaints we had for years in the SEC v. Ripple case, all the things we cited about the behavior of the SEC, we see it keep coming up again and again and again in the world of crypto and outside the world of crypto, which is why I'm highlighting this. It's not just that. The Supreme Court has seen this in other cases, not even having to do with crypto. And I love seeing Coinbase going after the SEC, by the way. Like, that just makes my heart happy. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.